Hello, everyone. This is David Krueger. Welcome to my channel, The Creator's Apprentice. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I have been studying success and making money and becoming the person that you want to be for many years. I've been apprenticed to Kevin Trudeau. For those of you who don't know who Kevin is the infomercial king. Kevin is a New York Times best-selling author and generator of billions in sales. He's also the former chairman of a very secret organization called the Brotherhood, where a limited small number of people learn how to use their mind and their energy to create exactly what they want, which is what people do at the highest levels in this world. He's now engaged in several ventures, including the Global Information Network, which is his legacy to us. It is, think of it as a high-level university for using your mind and using your own power to create your reality. This is something that is intended to outlive him and something that many of us are a part of. Kevin offers right now, and we don't know for how long he's going to be offering this, fly on the wall training, something that no one else offers. In this training, you go to Kevin's house and you stay with him for 24 hours. You say nothing. You are a fly on the wall and you are observing him. You are observing the habits and the tendencies and the practices that create massive levels of success. I've had a couple of them on here already. I've shared my experiences. Today, I have with me a dear old friend, Marjan Rajabi. She is a level 8 director in the Global Information Network. It is the highest level one can achieve in that organization. She is a very accomplished individual. She has quite a story to tell. Marjan, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, David, for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It was very exciting for me to get you on here. Before we start to talk about your fly on the wall with Kevin, tell us a little bit about you for everyone who doesn't know you, who's watching this. Tell us about the person who came to the fly on the wall a couple weeks ago. Who is Marjan?
Yeah. So I am an Iranian native. Uh, I moved to the US sometime in the 80s, and I went to school here, studied engineering, got my master's, was focused on basically engineering, IT training, and then have held positions in the corporate world, primarily in engineering and kind of in a technical space. I'm also a mom of two daughters who are going to college right now, and I'm in California. That's in a nutshell the person that I am. In general, curious, intrigued about how the world works, in awe of the universe, the world, and always looking to learn. I'm kind of a student of life.
Wonderful, wonderful. Marjan, how did you come to, now you're a longtime student of Kevin, how did you come to Kevin and ultimately to Jen? What is that story?
Yeah, I had never heard of Kevin really before until one time my sister said, "Oh, she has these audio CDs." And she said a friend brought it to her. So I listened to it, and they were by Kevin Trudeau, called Your Wish is Your Command. In fact, the moment that I saw the title, Your Wish is Your Command, when she told me that was the title, I was like, I need to listen to this. And within a couple of weeks, I listened to this, and I was like, oh my God. Then I told my sister, you need to listen to this because I've never heard anything like this. And right away, after I listened, things in my life started to change.
What?
Yeah.
Like what,
And
Marjan? It started
so,
to change.
yeah, well, this was around 2011, and
Okay.
I just started a little bit more focus in life. Sometimes you're going in life and you're wondering, well, what do I do in life? Kind of what is my purpose? What gives me joy? But things started to get a little bit more concrete for me. But I'll
Okay.
give you one of the major life events that I experienced. And if it weren't for Your Wish is Your Command, I think my reaction and the way I would have responded to this event would have been very different. But just imagine this. One day I was driving in the car. This was after a day when I had gone to the doctor because I had some really bad, really, really bad back pain. And I was like, oh, what happened? What was spasm or what? So I'd gone to the doctor, gotten a CT scan. And the next day I'm driving, the doctor calls me and she says, Marjan, are you sitting down? And usually when you hear that, that's not a good question the doctor would ask. And I said, yes, I'm sitting down. I was driving. And she said, you have been diagnosed with renal carcinoma or kidney cancer. So I was like, oh, wow. Right. And so your life really changes when someone, when a doctor gives you that announcement.
Mhm.
Now, what happened after this, I have to say, I owe it to having listened to Your Wish is Your Command and been a student of this material, because I went initially through the panic of, oh, what has just happened? And I saw my life flash in front of me. But that just took about maybe a week. Okay. But then the training kicked in. And I was like, okay, let's do this methodically. And you have to go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you'll see further, which is one of our training nuggets. But it kicked right away. And so I said, all right, let me go and talk to several doctors. And I did. I also went to some holistic doctors. And I went on a holistic path. The doctor that I was talking with, my primary doctor, she was a traditional doctor, but I went to some specialists and they're like, yeah, you need to have surgery because that tumor is going to get bigger, eventually the size of a football, and then it's going to kill you. And I said, well, how much time do I have before I have to make a decision? And I thought, I don't want to just yank out the tumor without getting the message, the lesson. How much time do I have? And the specialist said, I'll give you 4 months. And I said, okay, that's great. So we deferred surgery for 4 months while I was going on alternative methods, but also trying to get the message of this tumor. And so eventually, fast forward, I did go with surgery. But what is interesting in all this, despite, typically a person gets, maybe 2 opinions, 3 opinions. I had 7 opinions, medical opinions regarding my situation. And all of them were like, yeah, this is kidney cancer. You're going to die. So eventually, after 4 months and going into a spiritual path and following the training, I did go in for surgery. And after pathology, and they examined the tumor, they came back and they said it is benign. So we don't know what happened along the 4 months, if it was a transformation or what. I may probably never know, but something that multiple doctors diagnosis that ended up being not that or had transformed. So this was one of the events, but I will tell you that throughout that journey, it was very important for me not to have fear, or as little as possible, which is part of my training. And I follow that. And things like, when your attitude is right, the facts don't count. And in this case, the facts didn't count. And this was 13 years ago.
That's fantastic. So you have been learning from, you studying Your Wish is Your Command and the Success Mastery course in Jen. You've been in touch with Kevin. Kevin knows you, but you came to his house to do a fly on the wall. You walk in the door. What were your first impressions?
At first, when I walked in, I saw this foyer, gorgeous foyer with this beautiful, huge bouquet of flowers that just greeted you, and the fragrances emanating in the room. His butler was there who welcomed me, took my luggage and my coat, and I just saw this beautiful home absolutely lavish, very beautifully decorated, classical home. And he was there. He greeted me and a fellow fly on the wall. And so that the next 24 hours were about me following him, being quiet, a fly on the wall, and observing. And I think it was a phenomenal experience because how often do you get to witness how someone who is successful, actually mega successful, operates in the background, right?
Mhm.
And I was just giddy and observing how he thinks, how he makes decisions, like what leads him to make the choice of his next step, the next 10 minutes of his life.
I mean,
And mega successful, I have to clarify that because it's not just about what somebody thinks is like either money or people, because success, as you know, is defined as really any objective that you want to attain that is important to you, right? And so that could be anything, whether it's an education you want to attain. But in this case, certainly the success is a combination of the abundance, the wealth that you experience, the relationships, the abundant and very significant and important relationships, the way that you comport yourself with others, the ability to speak clearly. So a lot of elements of success. And he has, all of them.
yeah, people think it's all about money. It's not all about money. I've known people with a great deal of money who are miserable people. That it's not the money. And Kevin, well, I'm not going to I'm going to ask you. Tell me a little bit about Kevin's operating system. How does he go through the day? How does he operate? Get into it a little bit. Your impressions. Maybe take us through a period in the morning, or how he goes through a meal, or just for everyone a picture.
Yeah, so it starts around 6:30 in the morning when he gets up in very, casual robe, and he meets with his wife in a sitting area near the kitchen. And in hand, he has his notebook, which it is called the Priority Manager, which is pretty much the system that he uses and carries with him all day. Now, most of us, we don't do that. We have a phone these days, but that's right. This is it.
Yes.
But he carries this priority manager system with him, paper based and pen, very traditional.
Mhm.
And that is kind of what he carries around the house pretty much all the time. But it starts at 6:30. He grabs his coffee, and then after he checks it, he also does something that he was explaining is he looks at his accounts and looks at the numbers. And in the morning, he gets a little bit angry when it comes to the numbers. And what he does, he says he contracts energy. In the evening, in contrast, he looks at those same numbers with gratitude. But in the morning, it's when a little bit of, contracted
Mhm.
energy, just so that he can use that contracted energy and fuel it into motion forward. And then he goes and gets ready, and pretty much then he starts his day. Excuse me. Typically, meetings start around 9 a.m., and it could be either in his home office or it could be in his outside office. And then he follows the priority manager. Now, I want to dive a little bit into the priority manager and why that is important. You look at very successful people, and you see that they can achieve in their lifetime 5 times what maybe a normal person would. And you wonder kind of, what is the trick? What's the magic? And I realized from my fly on the wall experience that the magic is truly the priority manager. I would give it the name, David, more of a creation manager, or his magic wand.
Yes.
And that's how he does it. There really isn't any magic, but what it is that he works his plan, or he plans his work and then he works his plan, right? So he's doing a lot of time planning. And Kevin says people don't spend enough time planning their work. and that's what he does. But he does the planning of today. He did that yesterday. And
It's
throughout
absolutely
the
right.
day, yeah. And throughout the day, what he does is basically after a meeting, he opens right away. His priority managers goes in there, looks at the next meeting. He's always there 10 minutes ahead of time,
Yes.
ready for his meeting, because the energy, and it's all about being relaxed and stress free.
Which some of us took a little bit of time to get, because some of us who work closely with Kevin, moving at the speed and the efficiency he does, we would get a little stressed. And so, no, calm down. This is why we do this. And yeah, I asked him, at the end of my fly on the wall, I was there, I think, a few weeks before you. I said, Kevin, that priority manager is your magic wand, isn't it? I actually said that to him. That's like your Harry Potter thing. And he says, yep, that's the secret. He talks about manifesting. He wrote the book on manifesting, and the tool that you use to do it is the priority manager, because it keeps things freshly in your mind. It clears the clutter, and you're broadcasting clearly into the field in the alpha state with no stress. That's
And
what that's what's going on behind the scenes. You're looking at like a very organized person with a notebook, but it's more than that.
right. And he does say that. He says it basically eliminates the noise.
Yes.
And and when you know this, it gives you a lot of hope, because that means, you know what, then I can do it too. I just need to figure out how to get myself organized,
Yes.
and then I can do the same thing. It does take a little bit of practice,
Yes.
but I think it takes will first and foremost. And if you have the desire to do that, look, it's not brain surgery, you just need to have a good system and follow up, follow through to get
Yes.
it done.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Well said, Marjan. Well said. Was there anything that surprised you with Kevin or during your visit?
I would say that what surprised me was the intensity of his focus. He truly is focused and very intentional. I'll give you an example. In the evenings, he and his wife go and watch in the movie theater a movie, or it could be like a serial. And typically it's something that's a little bit mindless, like Inspector Columbo,
Hmm.
kind of an oldie series. And while he's watching that, he also has the priority manager on occasion with him. But he says this time to just let the conscious mind, kind of release,
Hmm.
is what allows then his subconscious mind to be creative.
And
So when a normal person would just, let's say, veg out in front
hmm.
of the TV,
Yep.
we just completely lose ourselves. But he uses this relaxation time with a purpose.
Yes.
So even something like watching serial, there is intent behind it and there's a purpose. So everything he does, from the way that he is drinking coffee, there is focus in it and there is a special intent. He, in fact, doesn't do anything without a purpose.
Mhm.
From what he wears, from the way that he walks, to the way that he keeps his desk clean. In fact, I have to mention this, David.
Mhm.
Things are beautiful and clean in his home. There is this energy of cleanliness, organization, and beauty that just permeates in the house. And
Okay.
so this organization is really important. There's nothing on his desk. When he comes and sits at his desk, he has two desks, a computer desk and a larger desk where, he would unfold his priority manager, have his, pens and papers in there. And when he's done with it, he packs it up and the desk is completely clear. And I remember a long time ago, and a lot of people probably don't remember this because this was very close to the first couple of years back in maybe 2011, 2012 time, where he gave this analogy of your mind being like a sonar system,
Mhm.
and it sends signals out. And so when you have a lot of clutter, the sonar goes beep, 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 beep. And so that's in the subconscious mind. But then when your environment is clean, there's no signal that hits the object and returns. So your mind doesn't have to be kind of thinking about a lot of things, and it keeps it clear.
Yeah.
So the organization and doing everything with intent, from the speed of the way that he walks, so that he walks very fast or he drives even very fast, but everything is there with intent.
Yes, everything with intent. My next question, and I'm going to go ahead and ask it because I think I know what you're going to say. If you had to name the one principle that explains everything you saw Kevin do, what would that be?
I would say deliberate intent.
Deliberate intent. I know you were, because that was my next question. And you really encapsulated it into everything he does. He does with intent, and it's so true.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so true.
And Dave, this is why I think he's the real deal, because you see, he's not just the man who talks like that, on the scene
Mhm.
and on stage. And then when he leaves, he's somebody else. He's the same person on stage as back at home, or whether he's in the office talking to people in meetings. He's the
Yeah,
same person. So, you know, he really walks the talk.
he does walk the talk. He is the same person on stage. He's truly authentic. Um, Yeah, one more comment about deliberate intent. I remember I was sitting, when I went over to the house and I did my fly on the wall, and Saul's the butler. He was giving us the tour before we met with Kevin. And I remember just looking at this innocuous detail in his house. It was the sump pump room, and it was like where he had all the custom, everything was immaculate in there. And it was all the custom water filtration that Fred built for him, and just how meticulous it was all built, and how everything looked and it was clean and so perfectly engineered. And I'm thinking, this is like an analogy for everything he was creating when he was living in my basement in Elk Grove Village. And it was a very plain, I think you'd been there. You've seen it. And it's just this very plain house for 4 years. And he was like doing the thing with the priority manager in that basement. He was writing the lists. He was imagining himself, in this next phase. And like, here we are seeing the thing in like the real physical world. I mean, just
Yes.
seeing him go from, leaving prison with the ankle bracelet on to living in a mansion, and everything is perfect and beautiful. That's the real deal, if ever there was a real deal.
Yeah. And I spent quite a bit of time in that room with all the water filtration system, the copper pipes,
Copper
the
pipes, yeah.
yeah, the UV disinfectant system. And it was quite impressive. A custom built system for him with 3 large tanks of water filtration.
Yeah,
Quite impressive. Yeah.
yeah,
I took
yeah.
notes because, as you know, I'm rebuilding my house.
Yes, yes, yeah. That's right. You have an opportunity there. Talk to Fred.
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Marjan, how does Kevin treat the people around him? His team, his staff, the people in his orbit. What does that tell you about who he is?
He's very polite, very respectful, and very kind when he speaks to people. And from what I've seen, it doesn't matter if it is, a colleague, a family member. I see him really behave the same way with, them as with either his students or coworkers. So he's really the same, the way he treats people. Sometimes he does get angry, but it's anger because
Hmm.
he has to push that energy out. And he does, he has explained that to us many times. And
Yes.
when you hear it, your hair kind of goes, woo, it's the anger of the guru. But
Yeah.
it's, for our own good. So he's very kind, very personable.
Mhm.
I once noticed I was talking to him about a subject, and he was giving me some information, and this was about extraterrestrials.
Okay.
Okay. And he was giving me an answer to this question I asked him, and he provided an information that I kind of went like inside. I was like, "Whoa, I could do about this," but I didn't show anything, but I felt it inside,
Mhm.
and I suddenly saw it in his gaze that he kind of stopped what he was saying, and I was like, yeah, but it's all good. It's all good. I was like, you know what? He could feel that inside. I probably may have not been ready for that
Yep.
information.
Yep.
And then he kind of changed directions and went a different orbit. So
Okay.
he really can sense people.
He
You
can,
know, how
he's very keyed into your energy. But before we move on, I have to ask, if you don't mind sharing, what was the question about the extraterrestrials? You know, this is a big interest of mine too.
oh my goodness. It had to do actually with implants. Yes, and
Okay.
implants, and wh- why why implants? And yeah, it was about, measurements. This is how measurements are done, and sometimes you don't even need those implants, but it's also about collecting what's in your field, if you will, maybe like metadata
Mhm.
that's in your field, and that information can also be collected. And I think it was when I heard that information that is collected, it was like, oh, because the next question that came in my mind is like, why?
Mhm.
What is your field and metadata, if you will? I'm in IT, so I'm thinking about the
Yep.
information about information in your field.
Yep.
So I don't have the answer about that, but what do they do with that information?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We've talked about things like that before. Ask him to tell you about the moon sometime. It's not what you think it is. And I'll just leave that here and let everybody watching this go, what about the moon? You'll have to wait for another episode, guys.
Yeah, or
Um,
become a partner, because I think he alluded to it on a partner call
yeah,
and
partners.
reference
Yeah, the partners get
site.
some good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Kevin is a polarizing figure in the world. Some of us who know he's the real deal, we love him. Other people think what they think. So especially after spending 24 hours with him, what do his critics get wrong? What would you say to them?
Yeah, there's a lot out there that doesn't paint a positive portrait, on the internet if you research it. So based on my experience, I'm seeing a different person. Now, could some of that information be related to his past that I'm not familiar with? Maybe. But what I'm judging first is the material and the fact that he's willing to share this material. This material has positively impacted my life and the life of my family tremendously. I mean, David, there was a time I wouldn't speak with my mother. If it weren't for the faculty in gin teaching about parenthood, I probably to this day, I wouldn't have understood that my mother is actually my guardian angel of some sort, right? So we have become extremely close together. Um, whether it's that or my health, or what, say, my daughter went through, the struggles that she went through, very, very, very challenging times in her health and in our relationship, to this being 180 degrees opposite, where, you know, she can't wait to call me when she's off work and debrief me, of what has gone in the day. And my
Uh-huh.
daughters are now fighting for my time, so 180 degrees opposite, or with other members of my family. So this is what I have personally experienced. And I've also experienced, like, having been a coach, I'm seeing the result that others are achieving. So that in itself is a testament of the value of his teachings. Now, looking at the person in the interactions that I've had, in the kindness and giving that he's done to the world, whether it is gifting people with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars of material, whether it's uh, jackets for the homeless, things he has done for the veterans, you know, helping a friend's handicapped child to be able to get a car so they could drive despite their handicap. There's a lot of giving. But as you know, when we do this giving, a powerful lesson is to do that without sharing it with others, so that the
Yep.
energy remains whole and powerful in its
Yep.
giving. Because if you go brag about it, no,
No,
it's not. You do it quietly.
we
You
do it
do it
quietly.
unknown. Yeah. And you don't
I
brag
think,
about it. So he doesn't talk about it except 20 years later.
yep.
He will share something that he did back then.
Yep.
So when I see this person, he's kind, considerate, intelligent, he's a giver, and he's putting himself in a position that's more difficult. He doesn't have to go through the challenges he's going right now to share this material. And
Yep.
why would he do that? Because he has hope that the suffering that we're going through, we don't have to go through suffering. As long as we have the desire and willingness to put in the effort to figure things out, then he's there 100%, supporting you to go through that transformation so you don't have to suffer. Now, you know, pain sometimes happens, but suffering is optional.
Yep. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Yep.
Yeah.
You got it. Wonderfully said. Thank you, Marjan. So you spent 24 hours with Kevin. You leave that house with new eyes after having seen everything that you saw. Was there one thing that you started doing differently, like immediately, like the next day?
Yes. So I definitely started writing my to-do list a lot more diligently, crossing off items. And it's like muscle memory, though, David, I will tell you. For the first 3 days, I was like, yes, yes, yes. But it does take focus. And that's when I realized, wow, Kevin really is the real deal, even beyond what I was thinking of him, because it
Mm.
takes discipline. Now, he did say very kindly, because I did share this information with him, and so as not to discourage me, he said, it does take time. He's done it since, like, for the past 30 years.
Mhm.
So this is something that has become an, you know, unconscious competence for him. Whereas for me, I'm still in the conscious incompetence, maybe a little bit of conscious competence, but nothing beyond that. So then there was some space, but then I came back to it. So I'm still building that muscle memory and being diligent to do the system the way that he does it.
Yep. Does
But
take
it's great to
practice.
know it does take practice,
Yep.
absolutely. But the other thing is when you step inside his house, the fact that he has a butler, right, who cooks, right, and he has cleaning staff. Um, I immediately started to dream bigger.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'd like a chauffeur. There's like a chauffeur for my mom, actually, because she's at the age where, she's not going to be able to drive, yet her spirit is a fiery, independent, you,
Mhm.
you know, elder mom. So
Yep.
it would be great if I can give her that freedom of transportation. Heck, why not a chauffeur for her, who would take
Yeah.
her wherever, right?
Yep.
And a cook
Yep.
who would cook for her, for us, and then the ability to fly private. The
Mhm.
TSA lines tend to get really long and
Yes, they do.
unpopular, right? But just seeing the abundance, and I started immediately to go and look for beautiful china. Even the china that he has is like Versace.
Yeah.
So just imagine this: in the morning, I was taking the Versace cup, and that Versace cup, I think, is like $200. I was like, I hope I'm not going to drop this. It's so beautiful. Of course, when I got back, I went to like Poshmark and wherever to find the china. But that joy, that vividness, inner vividness,
You
the giggliness of, oh, I could do this. And it's not so far fetched because you see Kevin do it,
you
and
see it. You
where
see it in real life. Yeah.
he didn't start from zero. When he came back from jail, he started at like negative 100 because he had all this debt to pay back.
Yep.
But when you see him do it, and his secret is his priority manager, then you're like, okay, let me just follow the system, come up with a desire, put it on my list, write it down on white paper with blue ink, revisit those exciting goals every week or so
Yes,
and just follow them.
that's right. That's right. Got well said. Well said. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There are people watching this who may never get a chance to do a fly on the wall with Kevin. Maybe they won't have the resources, or maybe Kevin won't be offering them anymore. This is 24 hours at his house. I mean, who knows how long this will go on for. To them, if you're speaking to them, what is one thing, one practice, one ritual, one success habit, one shift that they can apply starting today that you would recommend to them?
I would say, look, have a dream, okay? And don't let anyone steal it from you. Maintain it, believe in it, and just know that when you're ready, there is a system there to support you to attain it. So get excited. And no matter what has happened in the past, no matter what you experienced in the past, put that aside because today and tomorrow is the beginning of a very exciting new journey for you.
That is perfect. And with that, I have nothing else. That is the perfect thing to close on, Marjan. Thank you so much. You have shared gold with me and with the audience today, with from your experience with Kevin and from who you are and the hard work that you have done that they don't know you've been doing for the last 2 decades. So just thank you so much for gracing us with your time. It has been a pleasure. For those of you watching this, this has been Marjan Rajabi talking about her fly on the wall experience, watching a truly successful, legendary individual, Kevin Trudeau. There is more content like this coming soon. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, hit the like on this video, and smash that notification bell so that YouTube will tell you when I have a new video up. Otherwise, you won't know about it. And give us a comment here in the comments. Let us know what you got out of this and what else you might like to know about Kevin, about us, about success, and about our journey. This has been David and Marjan. I love you. We'll see you next time.